Hello and welcome to my video on insulating a koi pond. So in this video I want to talk about how I've insulated my koi ponds, why I chose to do that type of insulation, not any other, and also sort of what types of insulation that I'm not really keen on, I'm not sure about. But I want this to be more of a discussion, so if you sort of feel that your pond's insulated in the way that I'm not that keen on, then I want to hear from you. I want to sort of know how you actually get on with your level of insulation and stuff like that. So first of all, I'm going to start by talking about this pond. So this building is built like a normal house sort of thing, and it's basically just got a pond in it. So the actual wall here is built all the way around here, is built like a house. So what you've got is you've got the outside brick, like there, that's the outside brick, 100mm, 100mm cavity which has got rock wool insulation in it, and then 100mm concrete block which then goes onto your pond. And the reason I chose to do that is because that's really just how you build a house. But also I kind of want, so wind will be coming like onto the external walls of the house and onto the building, and I don't want that chilling the pond. So I want to keep the sort of wind chill factor off of the pond. Now, having said that, all this wall around the edge outside is like that. This wall here isn't actually. This one is a solid concrete block all the way through, and that's because this wall's just not supported all the way to the bottom of the basement. Now, these walls again on the outside are not actually insulated below the floor level. So when you get past the floor level, they actually turn to these concrete blocks. And the reason for doing that is because that's really how you build a house. Below your damp course you don't have insulation, but also because I didn't want the pond to be insulated below the floor level. And the reason I chose to do that is because I actually feel that the sort of soil surrounding your pond and that helps as a good insulation sort of barrier, as well as a heat sink for your pond, so it stops your pond from heating up too fast and it'll stop your pond from cooling down too fast. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why this pond is 16 degrees in the middle of winter, because that surrounding area sort of stores a lot of heat. Now also, this pond's base is about 20 tons of concrete sort of in the base and around this pond. So all that concrete would actually be helping to store heat from the summer. Now, water itself is actually a good thermal store, but the concrete and that surrounding is probably even better, and it will just stop any jumping up in or jumping down quickly in temperature. And I saw this when I heated my pond to 30 degrees Celsius last year. I actually turned the heater off when I'd done with that, and it took it a couple of weeks to actually get back to normal, and it were only dropping about a degree a day at most, even less on some days depending on the weather outside. If it were particularly windy or like that, it would drop that degree. So it just showed me how much sort of heat this pond could store. And obviously we're 16 degrees in the middle of winter, so it must store some sort of heat. And I know this building is heated, which helps. Obviously the heat is getting into the pond from above and then going into the river and stuff like that. So that's like heat point from the building, but it does keep up quite nicely, and I'm quite pleased with that. Now, another way to insulate your pond is to actually insulate it behind the fiberglass. So let's have a look at my fiberglass here. So what I've got is the wall here and then the fiberglass here. So in this gap here is actually render, where the wall was rendered to make it smooth for the fiberglass. So instead of rendering it, what you would do is insulate that, either with like some sort of board insulation like Celotex or Exotherm or whatever it is that you can get in your area. And or they'll do some sort of spray stuff that you can put onto there, that the fiberglass can put on before the fiberglass is put on. Now, I don't mind those insulations. I've actually got a pond that's insulated like that, kind of. This pond. So this pond's actually insulated all the way around, right behind the fiberglass, so it has no thermal storage. But at the same time, there's no brickwork around this pond. There's no, there's no actual thermal properties in the surrounding of this pond anyway. So there's no concrete, no brickwork or anything like that. And so it needed to be insulated like that. It had literally no other choice. And because it's all above ground, I think that's a good thing to insulate it like that anyway, because above ground you'll only get wind chill and stuff like that on it anyway, so it just needs to be insulated or you'll end up with like freezing in it and stuff like that. Now you can actually see sort of the thickness of the insulation. So the insulation is like this thickness, right behind the fiberglass wall sort of thing, and it seems pretty good. It's really well insulated, this tank, and it's doing a really good job of keeping it. See, it's currently 23 degrees, this tank, and obviously I put this polycarbonate sheet over the top of it to keep the insulation in from escaping out the top. And also it's in a building, so it's like in a carport. This is like a carport sort of thing with more of that polycarbonate that's just got walls around it, and it actually keeps the heat in quite nicely. This building keeps the wind chill factor off the tank itself, so we don't do too bad with keeping the heat in. However, it is not warm in here. It is literally the same temperature as outside in here, unless you get a little bit of sun on the roof, then it warms it up. But apart from that, it stays at the same temperature. So let's just have a look at the filtration system. So this is the little filter house, and now you'll see the filter. This is fully insulated. I've gone out my way to make sure it's all insulated, so there's an insulation piece on the top of the filter, so no heat's coming out the top. Insulation all the way around the edges, and then the actual little room itself is insulated to make sure it keeps in as much heat as possible. Now also the pipework itself is also really well insulated, and did a good job of that. And if you want to know more about the insulation on this particular pond, then please check out the building it video, and you'll see all that sort of stuff in that video. So this pond has the type of insulation that I'm not very keen on, or at least not sure about, and if you have this type of insulation, then I'd like to hear more about it from yourself. Now this pond is actually insulated all the way around the pond, the floor, the sides, everything, all straight behind the fiberglass. Now the problem I have with that is in summer like spring, you'll get a really warm day, and that will heat the water up so fast. A really sunny day, it'll heat the water up, and then at night it will go really cold outside, and then that will chill the water, so you'll have a huge fluctuation between day and night temperatures of that pond, because it's not storing any heat in the ground surrounding the pond. Also, this pond has a backy shower on it, which is stainless steel and a huge heat sink, so any wind chill factor on that stainless steel backy shower will be put into the pond's water and really chill the pond's water. Now one advantage this pond does actually have is that it has an indoor filtration system. So this filter is indoors, so it doesn't need to be insulated, or it could be insulated, but it doesn't need it. It's not got the wind chill factor on it. It's quite alright, and that's one of the advantages of this pond. But I feel that it does need a heater on it to sort of maintain any temperature in the pond through the winter, and to stop any sort of sudden increases or decreases in the pond's temperature. So why do I think that this pond is actually better insulated than that pond that we just looked at, despite having less insulation? Well, imagine that this pond was actually outside. If I just put a polycarbonate sheet over all this pond, I would pretty much have the same situation that I do now. The insulation in the walls above the ground level will keep the wind chill off the side of the pond. The polycarbonate sheet will keep the wind chill off the top of the pond, and the polycarbonate sheet would also let a little bit of light in, which would heat the water up, which is great. It's just what you need. However, when you drop below 10 degrees Celsius, there is quite an important and large heat sort of input into your pond, and that is from the ground. The ground in England anyway is usually 10 degrees Celsius, and that is why ground source heat pumps are a thing, because there's heat in the ground that's there all year round that can be used. Now if you insulate your pond from that heat input, then you're basically insulating it from allowing any heat into your pond at all in certain times of the year in winter. So whereas your pond could only get colder, you might find that that 10 degrees Celsius heat around your pond, just keep it warm enough, just get into the water just enough to keep it at an acceptable level and stop you from needing to actually do any sort of emergency electric heating of your pond, say to keep it above 4 degrees Celsius. So that's something to bear in mind. Obviously if the top of your pond isn't insulated and not covered up, that 10 degrees in the ground will not be enough to actually recover the losses that you will get out of the top of the pond. But if you insulate the top of the pond and not the bottom, you would find that that 10 degrees Celsius ground around your pond can input quite a lot of heat and keep your pond at a reasonable temperature. And that is why, if this pond was outside, I would expect it to never really get below 6 degrees, because the ground around the pond would keep it warm, and all that concrete and all them bricks around this pond would be a huge store of heat, and exactly what this pond needs to survive the winter. Whereas that pond that we just looked at had no input of heat at all unless it had a heater put in on it. So that pond could actually get really cold to the point where it could even get below the point of freezing if it wasn't covered up at the surface, which would obviously kill your fish straight away. So that's how insulation works for me, and that's how I think too much insulation can be a bad thing, because you can insulate from the only heat source of your pond, but at the same time you can insulate, you know, large amounts like that if you plan to heat it. So if that pond was heated at 27 degrees all year round, it could be quite easily, because it's so well insulated, and it would allow that pond to work at 20 degrees, but without heating on it wouldn't work. So there you go. I hope that helped. I hope that was interesting to you. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, then please like it. If you want to see more videos like this, then please feel free to subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.